So, hi, Aastha.
Hi Rida, how are
First of
you?
all, I'm doing well. And you must be doing amazing because congratulations on your amazing 730 score with a Q50 and a V39.
Thank you so much.
So, how do you kind of feel after that? Because I know you've put in a lot of time, energy, and work to get to that score.
Definitely good. I'm like super related to have that score. Worked pretty hard to have that score. I didn't really believe in myself that I was able to, achieve this. But
Mhm.
yeah, super happy.
I mean, the proof is in the pudding now because you're sitting with that score, you're sitting ready to take on whatever comes next for you, and I'm super excited for what's going to happen next. So let's give all our listeners a little bit of background. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Hello everyone. My name is Aastha Singhvi. I'm a chartered accountant by profession and I'm 25 years old. Uh, I work as a tax professional in a big four company. So I think, yeah, that's about myself.
Great. So Asa, this is not the first time you've taken the GMAT, right? You've taken
Yeah,
the GMAT once before. Can you tell me a little bit about that GMAT experience and how you prepared for it?
yeah, sure. So I gave my GMAT first GMAT around a year back from now. I had scored a 650 on my first GMAT, and I had a very little prep time compared to what I had done right now. So I think I had a prep time of around a month, that too with breaks.
Mhm,
So that how my GMAT preparation went
mhm, mhm.
for the first time.
And that time you were kind of studying while you were also working as well, right? So it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
parallel to your other professional commitments.
yes, that's true.
So what kind of changed this time around when you decided to take the GMAT again this year?
This time around, I planned to take a break from my work for a short period of time,
Mhm,
and I thought that this consistency is what I required in my preparation for, like, giving it again and with a consistent approach. So I think that targeted practice is what I really required for my GMAT this time.
mhm,
So that's what, like, motivated me to take a break from my work and start
mhm.
preparing again.
And that makes complete sense. The GMAT is an exam that can take a lot of time, effort, and as you mentioned, most importantly, consistency. So you took that kind of a break.
Yeah.
So how long did you kind of plan on preparing for the GMAT itself?
uh I spent around 2.5 months, 2.5 to 3 months roughly,
Mhm,
for this time around.
mhm.
Yeah, like
So what did that GMAT, this new GMAT journey kind of start out as? Did you start preparing on your own or did you jump into e-GMAT right away?
no, so I did start preparing on my own, but I
Mhm,
was kind of feeling a bit lost as to how
mhm,
should I start, because I was almost starting my preparation again after around 7, 8 months.
mhm,
So
mhm,
I kind of was feeling lost on how to start again,
mhm,
especially when you have all those notes and all, and it's like such an overwhelming course that you don't really know, okay, where to pick up from, how much do you need to spend more time on, which sections do you need to spend more time on.
mhm.
So it had
Absolutely.
been quite a long time. So that's when I decided that, okay, my earlier approach didn't really work out that well for me. And I
Mhm,
needed some change in my approach.
mhm.
So that's how I came to e-GMAT.
And so I think you experienced the free trial a bit as well. What kind of
Yeah.
convinced you to invest in the course itself?
Yeah. So I came to e-GMAT through a friend reference,
Mhm,
and I went through the free lectures on the website before I finally purchased the course.
mhm,
But when I went through those free lectures, I kind of started figuring out like how the entire course was so structured in
mhm,
its approach, and even they all have process skills. You have practice files, application files. So that really, for each and every smallest of topics.
mhm,
So that I really liked that, and I thought that having that entire course would definitely help in my GMAT preparation. So that's how it led me to actually go for e-GMAT.
I'm really glad. So when you kind of joined us on board, you decided to start with your verbal prep. And if I
Yeah.
remember correctly, you started with the Master Comprehension course.
Yeah.
How did that kind of end up being the gateway to your entire verbal improvement?
Yeah. So Master Comprehension, it kind of gave like value additions in terms of your how to take pause points in reading a very complex or a long sentence, and how to like have a strategic reading approach.
Hmm.
So that's how Master Comprehension really changed my verbal game.
Hmm. Was it different from the way that you were reading before you went through the course?
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. So I don't think I was really strong in my verbal preparation,
Hmm.
and I didn't know how to approach RC passages, like really long and verbal heavy, like language heavy RC passages.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
having those reading strategies and those pause points, meaning based approaches definitely helped me in going through that verbal course.
Good. I'm really, really glad. Then that's when you kind of moved over to SC, right? After Master
Yeah.
Comprehension. So SC, what really struck out to you there through the SC course?
SC, I was kind of comfortable even before e-GMAT, but what was an value addition for me in e-GMAT was a meaning based approach in SC.
Hmm.
So earlier, I was kind of falling under even those sharp answer choices where those are grammatically correct, but it kind of changed the meaning from your original sentence. So
Hmm.
that is
Hmm.
something I was struggling with before e-GMAT. So
Hmm.
that kind of helped me in approaching those SC questions and in a faster elimination of those answer choices.
That's great. I think that's a trap that a lot of people fall into where they're
Yeah.
like, there are two very, very grammatically correct answers
Yeah.
and you don't know which one to go to. So that meaning based approach kind of cut down on that confusion and it helped you zone in on the right answer choice.
Yes. Yes.
Great. Then I think that's when you move to critical reasoning, right?
Yeah.
And critical reasoning was something you were okay with, but not too strong at, if I remember correctly.
Sorry, I
Hello?
think I lost you. Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. Um,
Yeah.
so I said, okay, just it's fine. I said, okay, so once you kind of finished your sentence
Yeah.
correction, that's when you moved on to critical reasoning, right? So how did that critical reasoning journey kind of go for you?
Okay. So critical reasoning was my weak point in throughout my verbal course.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really getting stuck in those answer choices. So with e-GMAT's pre-thinking approach,
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a game changer for me in critical reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't say that it I was able to get to that pre-thinking stage right when I just finished the course. It took a lot
Mm-hmm.
of practice and a lot of going through those application files multiple number of times.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that pre-thinking definitely changed the way I approached CR questions, even how you need to pre-think at least for a little 10-15 seconds even before you approach the option answer choices.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
that really helped. And I think after a certain point of time, I started identifying certain patterns in all types of CR questions. So yes, that helped.
I'm glad that the pre-thinking approach was able to help you convert CR, which, as you said, was a weakness for you, into something
Yeah.
that was your strength. And I'm also glad that you understood that, yes, you need to spend maybe a little bit more time in that question stem itself before you move on to
Yeah.
analyzing your answer choices. And I think that was a common trend for you across both quant and verbal, right? That
Yeah.
stress on
Yeah.
the question itself. Can you kind of speak a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So, like I said, for reasoning, it was definitely pre-thinking, which helped me approach the answer choices. But not only critical thinking, I think it was even data sufficiency questions in cons, which required quite a lot of analysis of the question statement itself
Hmm.
to even before even approaching those answer choices.
Hmm.
So that extra 15-20 seconds which you spend on analyzing the question statement, it
Hmm.
really saves a lot of your time on how you analyze those answer statement choices.
Hmm.
So
Absolutely.
that really helped.
Great. And that was kind of different from the way that you used to do these
Yeah,
questions, where you would
yeah.
jump into the
I
answer
would
choices
really,
a little
yeah,
bit?
I used to jump in right into the answer choices even before analyzing the question statement. So it brought down my time to solve the questions for both these type of answer choices significantly.
Mhm. So spending more time saved you a lot of time.
Yeah.
So that might sound like a bit of contradictory advice. Initially, it
Yeah, I
paid off
was
for you
earlier
majorly.
very apprehensive. I think most students would resonate with this, that how would spending a little more time would, eventually reduce your time. So pre-thinking was definitely one such point where I thought, okay, I'm spending almost a minute on pre-thinking in my initial stage of
Mhm,
preparation. But eventually, when I started doing a lot of questions, and when you reach those medium hard level questions, I started figuring out, okay, it's not really you won't require 1 minute or 40 seconds or 50 seconds for every question.
mhm.
You eventually get that time down when you start doing it, like consistently. So
Yeah. So once that process became second
yeah,
nature, it
second
really was a
nature.
very smooth ride for you,
Yeah,
essentially. Great. And then we kind of moved to RC, which you've already mentioned was an area of apprehension for you because there was a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
reading involved. But at this point, you've done SC, you've done CR. So how did you feel coming to RC now?
Now I was pretty comfortable
Mhm,
because going through that master comprehension, started sentence correction and critical reasoning gave me a lot of insights on how you should actually approach this long complex sentences or the passages.
mhm,
So having those pause points, having a pause points at those contextual words like but, contrast, etc. So
mhm,
all those kind of strategic reading, so those kind of things definitely helped in how I approached my RC questions now. So
mhm,
I was much more comfortable than I was before. So even if the RC passages were long, I was not very scared because I eventually realized that shorter passages most often have like tougher questions than longer passages. Longer passages mostly have detailed questions, but shorter
mhm,
passages have
mhm,
very tough inference or assumption questions, which are even more like difficult to crack. So
mhm. Because
yeah,
then you have to involve all those RC skills you've already
yeah.
worked on. And then, they're like, this is an RC passage. I should have to bring
That's
in.
definitely a myth that people have, that okay, longer RC passages are tougher,
Mhm.
but no.
Your experience has been the shorter they are, the trickier the questions get.
Yes.
Good advice for everyone listening. Don't, the size is a deceptive indicator of difficulty in your RC passages.
Definitely.
And then I think after RC, that's when you jumped into quant as well, right?
Yeah.
So, quant, how did you kind of find that pace enabled course helped you streamline your approach?
Pace definitely shortened my preparation time a lot.
Mm-hmm,
So a few of the topics which I was comfortable with, e-GMAT has those diagnostic quizzes where you can just, take that quiz and determine which courses or which files you actually need to go through in detail.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So I was sort of comfortable with quant even before. What I needed was a little more targeted practice in reducing the time to solve the questions.
mm-hmm,
So having that pace, it shortened my entire preparation time, like for which files I need to go through in the course and which files I need to go through in detail and have a little more practice.
mm-hmm,
So yes, pace shortened my prep time.
mm-hmm. And then again, this is where you kind of brought out those process skills
Yeah,
as well, right? Could you kind of elaborate on those process skills and how they helped you reduce that timing?
yeah, sure. So e-GMAT has those, I think, six process skills which they like emphasize on a lot, like
Mm-hmm,
inference process skills, simplify, apply constraints. All
mm-hmm,
of those process skills definitely they kind of help you in how you approach the question.
mm-hmm,
So even if it's a trickier question, you start analyzing the question statement, applying those processes, and you eventually realize, okay, the question isn't that tough.
mm-hmm,
Having those, pause points again, even verbal skills definitely help, especially those translate process skill. So that really helped me in, how I was approaching questions.
mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And this is again where you kind of had that spend more time to save
Yeah.
time approach that came in, where you spend that time in that question
In
stem,
that
used
question
those
stem.
You use
Yeah.
these process skills, and that got you to the question, the answer a lot faster.
Yeah.
You'd also, I remember in our previous conversations, mentioned something about DS and solving the entire question,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that was a really valuable piece of advice. Could you kind of elaborate on that bit, on your approach to
Yeah.
DS questions?
Sure. With e-GMAT, I noticed that, of course, analyzing the question statement is a must for all DS questions.
Hmm.
Even before you even jump into those option A, option B, you must analyze your question statement. Spending
Hmm.
those 15-20 seconds, it definitely reduces your time in analyzing those questions. But what's even more important to know or to keep in mind, because a lot of Indian students, they love maths. They have this curiosity to solve the question till the end, till you find that X. So,
That
so
historic kind
this
of
historic
math
kind of thing,
strength,
yeah,
where like we are math experts and we will
yeah.
get to the answer.
We are curious by nature. So,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah. So, keeping that in mind, that you don't need to spend that, you don't need to completely solve the question. Just
Hmm.
knowing what information is required to just, answer the question correctly is sufficient.
Hmm.
So, even then, I would say analysis of the question statement is very helpful.
Hmm.
Okay, this is what I need. And if you jump into the answer choices, I have this information. Okay, I don't need to even analyze it any further.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's a must to know that don't spend your time, those 10-15 seconds. Oh, okay, I'll get that answer. But you don't need to. You don't need to solve it completely.
So that was kind of a process of unlearning for you, it kind of
Yeah,
sounds like.
definitely. Definitely.
So, I mean, that's kind of a difficult part of GMAT prep as well, right? Unlearning the kind of rules and test
Yeah.
taking approaches that you might have had
Yeah.
so far. What was that process for you like?
Yeah. So what I realized in the entire GMAT course is that the concepts aren't a lot. It's actually how they test one concept in like 50 another ways.
Hmm.
Okay. So having that application skills or process skills is more important than actually, doing the question in the like, the way you would have done and doing it the correct way or to save time.
Hmm.
So I had to actually unlearn how I used to approach cons before
Hmm.
and learn the ways which e-GMAT has, like, those process skills. That was a very big value addition for me in the entire cons course. So yeah, having those translation skills, simplification skills, it really helped. And even those applying those constraints.
Hmm.
So that really helped me in how I was approaching questions or how I was not falling for those sharp answer choices.
Hmm. So
So
overall,
unlearning that was very difficult for me because, like I said, we all love maths. So we kind of go into the questions, okay, I would solve it like this. But
hmm,
okay, there is a better way to solve it. You just
hmm,
need to learn that method. You just need to apply those skills.
absolutely. And that really worked out for you, evidenced by your Q50 score. It really, really worked out for you. So it's a difficult process, unlearning what you know, unlearning what you're
Yeah,
familiar with, and stepping into something unfamiliar is always a scary thing. But it
yeah,
really, really, absolutely paid off for you. And I'm so glad. I'm so, so glad
it
that it
did.
did. I mean, aside from just your Q50, and I'm going to show people your Scholarinium stats really quickly so that they can as well understand how valuable this, what do you say, journey of unlearning was for you. If I look at your last 20 stats, these are all indicative of that 85th percentile score that you eventually displayed in your actual test as well. And this is just for quant. The same story applies for verbal, where, as you said, you had to change the way that you looked at questions themselves. And if I show these last 20 accuracies, it's really, really indicative of that hard work, that determination, and that methodical, consistent process that you really, really did show. So, again, the process, it was hard, but I'm so very glad that it paid off, right?
Thank you.
And I think it was kind of around that quants unlearning and learning and cementing stage that we as well got in touch and we started
Yeah,
working
yeah.
together, right? So, I mean, tell people a little bit about me and what our journey of working together through your final leg of preparation was like.
Sure. So I reached out to Rida, I think around when I was in the last stage of course completion. So that's when I reached out to her for how to go ahead and how to, appear for my first mock. Little did I know that I had a lot of gap in my first mock and my course completion. So she kind of gave me those improvement plans for every day and which topics I needed to focus on more, which now I cannot even stress enough how it has helped me in my entire uh, GMAT mocks, I would specially say.
Mhm.
Had I jumped right into the mock after the course completion, I don't think I would have performed that great. Like
Mhm.
having those improvements in the topics which I was not more confident about, and I was struggling to, get the accuracy.
Mhm.
That really helped me in, streamlining the process and even being more confident rather than, just for the sake of approaching the mock. I was really better able to even approach the mock having done those processes.
Mhm.
So that improvement plans definitely worked for me.
Great. I'm really glad. And that
Yeah.
first mock, that's where you got a 690. And that's where I
Yeah.
reached out to you saying, you know what, let's get you on the last mile program. I know that you can score much better than this. And I think I used pretty much those exact
Yeah.
words in our call as well.
Exactly.
That Aastha, you're not here. You, especially a quant score, which was at a Q44 then. I was like, Aastha,
Yeah.
you're definitely not here. And I want to work with you to get you to your actual potential. So, what kind of changes did you bring about in the way that you approach mocks and then, of course, your actual test? So, let's start with
Yeah.
mocks. How did
Okay.
that kind of
So
change?
after the first mock, I obviously, like you said, I knew that this is not my score.
Mhm.
I was impressed with my verbal score because I knew that was a struggling point for me.
Mhm.
So having that confidence was great. But
Mhm.
cons, I was still a little I think I would say I underperformed in my first mock.
Mhm.
Maybe it was just because I'd spent a lot of time improving the verbal first and then going to cons. So but having when I first spoke to you about that first analysis of the mock,
Mhm.
uh, you really explained how how to manage your time in those mocks.
Mhm.
I again, like I said, for DS questions, I was getting stuck. Okay, I'm not getting this question. This is a hard level question. I'm getting stuck over here. So I
Mhm.
spent it a little 15 seconds or 10 seconds every of those hard questions, not realizing that I could have could have just given a guess and I
Mhm.
could have spent that time better in the last section of or last block of my mocks.
Mhm.
So having that inputs on like how to spend your time with each question or each block was definitely what I carried forward in my other mocks,
Great.
whether it be for verbal or for cons.
And there was a real steep incline in your performance across mocks as well. You went from that 690 with the Q44, then you moved to Q49, and then you actually got a Q51 in your last mock, a
Yeah.
perfect Q51. And your verbal as well was steady state. It was a very, very good score that you were carrying on throughout, around the 90th percentile, right? So you did about 3 mocks. And how do you feel about taking 3 mocks? Because a lot of people feel like they need to take as many mocks as possible, but how did that what do you say, taking just these many mocks kind of help you out overall?
Yeah. Before that, I would just spend a little more time on how what I was doing earlier before my
Mhm.
getting onto e-GMAT.
Absolutely.
Like you said, many people still believe that you need to solve as many questions as you can
Hmm.
to get to the level that you want, like to get your target score.
Hmm.
But after realizing and after going through the entire course and the cementing quizzes, I realized it's not spending or it's not solving those hundreds and 200s of questions for each section. It's just that you need to be able to apply those skills for that targeted 30 40 medium hard level questions.
Hmm.
So that's what even and when I spoke to you, I remember asking this question: how many ideally how many mocks should you give before your the day? So you did mention that roughly 3 to 4 mocks should be good enough depending
Hmm.
on how my performance is during that mocks and how I'm improving throughout the mocks.
Yeah.
So, doing a strategic review of the entire mock, each and every question, knowing where my falter points were,
Mhm,
made me realize I don't need to give like a lot of mocks. Earlier, I had given, I think, some 7, 8 mocks before my first GMAT
mhm,
uh,
mhm,
exam. But here, even after doing 3 mocks, I think I was comfortable enough to approach the exam day, because
mhm,
even between mocks, even if I was doing the mocks, say having 1 or 2 days in between, I
mhm,
was doing those test readiness packs that you had suggested, those warm up questions. So that still gives you the same level of confidence. It's just that it's similar to the mock environment. You just take a 8-minute break in between.
mhm.
So it's kind of a mock of a mock. So
Like a
yeah,
mini mock, kind
mini
of.
mock.
A little appetizer.
Yeah.
So,
So you don't need to take a lot of mocks. It's just that do a strategic review of each and every mock. That's more important than giving many.
mhm. So that I really like the kind of quality over quantity approach that you've taken into mocks, and of course your entire question, the number of questions you've done as well, because
Yeah.
you've not exhausted your entire question bank even on our platform or all the
Yeah.
mocks available. You still have one
One
mock
mock.
remaining, just sitting over there. But that strategic review is absolutely such an important part of prep, because every question that you attempt new should be based on a feedback driven system.
Of course.
And I know for you, you use the error logs as well in pretty extensively. How do you think that helped you improve mock on mock? And of course, before
Uh,
that, quiz on quiz.
Error logs was the game changer for me.
Mhm,
I would be very honest, I didn't believe in the concept of error logs before e-GMAT.
mhm,
I was like, okay, I've logged in my entry, I've logged in where I'm making mistakes, but how is it going to help me?
mhm,
Until I came to the strategic review, like I was saying, approach, where I was entering each and every mistake and I was extracting the learning out of it. Having that detailed entry with what you're extracting out of, or the detailed, learning from it, or the
mhm,
feedback that you're putting in, that's more
mhm,
important than where you're making the mistake. So every time I was approaching a question, a similar question, I would just think back, take a second back. Okay, this is what I had done. I had made a mistake in. Just for an
mhm,
example, inference questions or assumption questions.
mhm,
Having that reminder that, okay, a new information is a must, or
mhm,
it must be true. The assumptions
mhm,
must be true. Having that reminder in every assumption question
mhm,
was um, like a, it was just like a, I would say it was a game changer for me. The answer choice analysis became pretty straightforward.
mhm,
And this is just one question type. Like obviously, entire CR or SC or even the con scores. Going through that error log is a must. Having that constant reminder, okay, this is where I'm making mistakes. But not only that, remember the learnings that you're having from that
mhm.
error log. So
Absolutely.
keeping that in mind when you approach the mocks, it becomes all the more, it just becomes a second hand thing to you.
You're like, this is my process, this is what I need to change, and you executed on that really, really beautifully as
Yeah.
well. So I'm glad that you utilized the error log so well, and that also you understood how to use the error log, that it's not enough just like you said that you log these mistakes, but that you take the learnings actively from
Yeah.
every mistake that you
Yeah.
made as well.
If you don't revise it, there's not going to be a value addition at all.
Absolutely, then you're just making note of things because that's a process, but you're not
Yeah. Yeah.
actually actively learning. That's true.
Yeah.
So then after your last mock, that's kind of when you took the exam itself. So how did the
Yeah.
exam go for you, considering all this work that you've put in till now?
Uh, I mean, it will come as a surprise, but I don't think I was very confident. I would say I was confident, but I don't think my exam was going really well.
Hmm.
I was more than shocked to see my score, to be honest. But I think that was because I was getting harder questions and I was on that stage, on that steep line.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's how I felt, okay, this is not how it's supposed to go. So yeah.
Maybe the
Other than
harder
that,
questions
yeah.
showed that you were getting getting to a
Yeah.
higher score. But I understand that nervousness, like I'm just not getting some of these
Yeah.
questions in your actual test.
True.
So then you saw that 730 and you were like, oh, okay,
I was
maybe.
jumping inside, honestly.
Yeah, I don't, they might not have appreciated the jumping at the test center, but I'm glad there was an inner
Yeah.
euphoria.
Yeah.
And I
True.
was so happy as well when I received that email from you saying that, yes, I got that 7:30. I'm so happy. I was also, I did a physical bit of a dance, but that's also, and so great, so great. So what your story is really showing me is that, consistency, process, trusting and following that process, and,
Yeah,
unlearning things. That's really the core of getting to that dream score, right? And it's really
that's
that
absolutely right.
effort that you put in, that concentrated kind of directed effort, is really great. Do you kind of have anything else that you want people to know before they, who, maybe someone who's on their journey, who's just starting out, if you could tell other GMAT aspirants anything at this point, what would it be?
Okay, so I would say regularly making that small efforts definitely helps.
Mhm,
Having those error logs and maintaining, like, detailed action points on what you need to do or what you need to extract out of them,
mhm,
that helps a lot.
mhm,
In That's from my personal experience. Like, I obviously haven't I would say, like, the error logs really helped me in my entire journey. I
mhm.
didn't appreciate the error logs till the time I started revising the course.
Ah, mhm,
After I was done through the course, I started feeling a bit overwhelmed. Okay, was a huge course, especially for
mhm,
cons.
mhm,
So having that error logs in place, I knew, okay, this was the kind of mistakes I made in this section, that I would just keep filtering out from the section. I would say, okay, these are the mistakes I made in this section. This
mhm,
is how I would replay the incorrect questions to just get back in the get back to those courses again.
mhm.
So just advice, especially, that keep your error logs, keep revising it, and take those action points in your mocks, or however you're planning your quizzes, and even warm ups before your mocks. That really helps. It helped me a lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Getting that muscle, getting the blood flowing
Getting
through
that
those
muscles.
muscles.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Really well said. I love that emphasis on the error log because it is such a valuable tool throughout your prep. And as you can see, it's really paid off for you. So I'm really glad that you're giving other people also the chance to benefit the most from that tool. So thank you, Asta, so much for coming today. And also, again, once again, congratulations on this amazing score. You've put in so much effort, so much time, and I'm so happy that all of that has given you this dream score that you were looking for.
Thank you so much, Rita. It was a pleasure working with you. Like, I really loved how your responses were in, like, within a day.
Yes, within a day, and also just working with you as well has been wonderful. All the very best for what's going to come
Thank
next.
you.
And
Thank
I
you.
look forward to seeing, all your future success.
Thank you so much.
All right.